a county in China's Inner Mongolia, is under extended mandatory quarantine measures. Locals there may be facing a dire situation, with some saying they are running low on food, though it seems Chinese authorities aren't too concerned. NTD's Don Ma has more.
Amid mandatory quarantines and lockdowns in parts of China, residents report they're running low on food, and the authorities are doing little to help. That's the situation in an Inner Mongolia county. The county, Yijin Banner, is currently labeled high risk for the virus, according to state-owned media CCTV, and many places there are under lockdown. A visitor to Yijin Banner tells the Epoch Times that he has been in a hotel under quarantine for more than 10 days, and it's getting harder and harder to get food. The newspaper gave him a pseudonym to protect his identity.
Since the 21st, the government has been sending a free boxed meal a day. For the rest of the meals, we order takeout ourselves. But now there are fewer and fewer takeout vendors because those restaurants have fewer and fewer supplies.
Mr. Wu says he has to pay for everything out of pocket, and no one has told him how much longer he will be quarantined.
If this goes on, the situation may become more and more problematic because the restaurants can't buy supplies either. Supermarkets are not even open as of the 25th.
A resident of Yijin Banner tells the Epoch Times that he also doesn't have enough food.
After today, it will be 10 days since quarantine started. The government provided a meal and some instant noodles for free, as well as some ham and a face mask. It's definitely not enough, but what can you do?
On the day of the interview, Beijing's National Health Commission reported that more than half of the total cases in China are from Inner Mongolia.
Chinese authorities are amping up pandemic prevention and control measures to unprecedented levels, now with the help of high-tech gear. They are now installing surveillance devices on doors and entrances to residents' homes that will alert authorities if anyone in the home so much as opens their door. Devices are being used to enforce lockdowns and quarantines in certain communities and districts. Chinese media reported that the director of one district in China's Gansu province called the devices extremely useful. With them installed, the moment a quarantine resident opens their door, the director will be alerted. Then all he has to do is make a phone call, and the resident can be dealt with. China has been practicing what it calls a zero-case policy. Even when only one confirmed case emerges in a given area, the whole neighborhood will be put under quarantine. Sometimes residents there will be made to stay home or go elsewhere in quarantine. In some extreme cases, that quarantine can last for months. Reports of the devices have caused a stir online. One netizen criticized the surveillance tactic, saying what authorities are doing equates to turning people's homes into prisons. Reports include Chinese authorities deploying these devices en masse. In one southern province, local media outlets say more than 17,000 of them have been installed. The CCP virus attacks North China again. Authorities confirmed positive COVID-19 cases in the northeastern province of Heilongjiang earlier this week. The hotspot city, Heihe, declared a lockdown immediately and started massive tests on its 1.5 million people. Public transit and cab services are currently canceled.
The city is now under lockdown. There is no exit nor entry to the city. That's the situation. All the shops are closed. When to open and when not to is up to the Pandemic Control Office.
Soon after, multiple cities in the same province escalated their control measures. And another outbreak that started with a tour group has now spread to half of all Chinese provinces, including Beijing, and it keeps expanding. For the first time during this outbreak, a community worker in Beijing has tested positive. And starting Thursday, the city began vaccinating children as young as 3. A display of excessive virus prevention measures. Authorities in China's Hebei province locked down a multi-block shopping mall because a person there came into close contact with someone who had the virus elsewhere. They are not allowing anyone to leave. That's what a local says who narrowly escaped the lockdown. The local posted an online video right after her escape. She said it was so scary. She got out a mere minute before the lockdown started. She says all the entrances are sealed off and not even one person is allowed to come out. It is unknown if these people were released later or transported to quarantine centers. Over the weekend, in another city in the same province, a person tested positive for the CCP virus. As a result, about 2,000 people were sent to quarantine centers. 500,000 people had to be tested for the virus. This, according to Chinese state-run media. A series of military-related moves by China is raising concerns. It may indicate the communist regime is shifting towards wartime policy. On Tuesday, Communist leader Xi Jinping called for efforts to, quote, break new ground, both in military equipment and weapons development for the Chinese army. The past Sunday, the regime's National People's Congress issued a decision to temporarily suspend a number of national defense laws. The notice said Chinese military actions will now follow direct orders from the Communist Party. Those defense laws will be adjusted later. Many Chinese netizens believe the law suggests the regime is getting ready to invade Taiwan. Some left comments like "We have to liberate Taiwan" and "Something huge is coming" on social media platform Weibo. China also announced it will provide free medical services for the spouses of military members. That plus discounted services for their parents. The news again prompted online discussion on whether the regime is preparing to take action against Taiwan. China also passed a new land border law last week. In it, Beijing declared it will combat any act that undermines territorial sovereignty and land boundaries. That drew sharp reaction from India. India's foreign ministry spokesman said China's new law could have implications for conditions in border areas. That's as tensions between the two countries are still on the rise after last year's deadly standoff at their shared border. No one knows whether or when the Chinese regime will be ready to start a war. Many believe military conflict may also be too costly for China right now. But there is one thing to take note of about the current leader, Xi Jinping. According to China expert and former professor at Peking University, Dr. Christopher Balding,
if we look at even domestically how he's, remaking the party and dealing with political enemies, I would call him, he is not risk averse as a leader. He is very willing to smash things that he thinks are no longer useful or serve his objectives. And so I think we need to get rid of this idea that the cost would be too high, the risk is too much.
Balding says one doesn't need to look very far to see it.
I see little evidence that Xi and China under Xi is not willing to take those risks. I think they're very willing to take those risks. I think they're very willing to bear those initial costs. I think there might be some potential caveats, like if you start incurring large amounts of deaths, for instance, trying to invade Taiwan.
Balding called the South China Sea and Hong Kong two good examples of this. The U.S. is reiterating its commitment to Taiwan. Washington's top diplomat in Taipei says the U.S. is committed to bolstering Taiwan's ability to defend itself. This after President Biden said earlier this week that the U.S.'s commitment to Taiwan is rock solid. Sandra Oudkirk, who heads the de facto U.S. Embassy in Taiwan, made her comment today in the first news briefing since she took up her post in July.
The United States has a commitment to help Taiwan provide for itself self-defense. And that's part of the Taiwan Relations Act. It's a commitment we take very seriously. Our commitment to Taiwan is rock solid and contributes to the maintenance of peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait and within the region.
Sandra Oudkirk's remarks came after Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen told CNN that a small team of U.S. soldiers are stationed on the democratically ruled island to provide support and training to local troops. When asked for more details on the presence of U.S. forces, Oudkirk declined to comment on specific operations or training. Chinese Communist Party leader Xi Jinping will participate in the Group of 20 Leaders Summit in Rome this weekend. According to a notice from China's Foreign Ministry on Friday, he'll join via video link. Here's more.
With two high-stakes climate talks scheduled for the weekend, all eyes were on China after President Xi Jinping said Friday he would not be attending either the G20 summit or the UN's COP26 in person. Beijing, however, said that he would be making a speech via video link in front of the G20. Leaders of the world's 20 richest economies are expected to meet this weekend in Rome, their first face-to-face meeting in 2 years. A draft communique seen by Reuters showed they'll be announcing plans to ramp up efforts to curb global warming. The G20 accounts for 80% of the world's carbon emissions, with China easily at the top of that list. That means world climate goals largely depend on its actions in the near future.
GE Appliances plans to add more than 1,000 jobs as its Kentucky operations. It's part of a $450 million investment to expand capacity and launch new products. It didn't offer specifics about its new product plans. The company expects to add the new jobs by the end of 2023.